everyone. A warm welcome to all the fellow sisters and professionals from the QA community. And I'm going to be the host for the day. I'm Shrija, community advocate for QA Touch. QA Touch is a modern test management tool that enables you to deliver the high quality software. And it has been a year since we started our QA masterclass for our QA Touch community, a virtual web series that has brought together more than 15 plus QA leaders across the globe with 200 plus unique participants and more than 1,000 views. And our initial thought was process behind this is to initiate. This was an initiative to facilitate the learning, sharing, and the connection among the testing community. So being the successful event of the QA Masterclass, we have come to our season 2, and we have just dedicated the complete month of August and September to celebrate the Global Testers Day. And no, so we have put together the biggest ritual event for the year, and the QA Touch community has dedicated the complete month to unite the testers of all background to provide a platform for collaborate and to bring out their creativity, and providing a platform for come out of ourselves and to have even a lot more fun. And we have 4 thrilling contests which have been lined up for the Global Testers Day. So one is the mind map contest, the chain of thoughts, and the other is the blogathon, and quiz masters, and the my upside down QA stories. And we have 4 contests lined up for the complete whole month celebration. And the mind map contest and blogathon are already open, and we are receiving a lot of registrations for the event. And quiz masters will be open in the first week of September to have little more thrill and the fun. And my upside down QA stories is to get an inspirational stories from all the testers across the globe, and to broadcast in our social handle to create inspiration for the young fellow testers. And along with this, so we have come up with 2 world-class testing workshops, and one of the workshop is today, which is happening now. And thank you again for signing in here. And I have an amazing speaker of the day, which is Kushan Amarasiri, and he's an automate expert, and he's an QA evangelist, and he's a continuous learner, and and he's training lot of corporates, and he have trained more than 75% of Indian testers in various automation technologies. And he have around 10 plus years of experience in the testing domain. And today he gonna talk about Selenium with robot framework. And the floor is yours, Kushan.
So welcome guys. So I'm Kushan. Okay. So I'm going to talk about robot framework with Selenium. You know, everyone should know Selenium because it's very popular and it's most used in the industry because since it's open source and free to use, unlike other tools like QTP, which Ranorex, which are like commercial based. So more about myself. I'm from Sri Lanka. Works in a company called Codehouse, which we actually specialize on content managed solutions. Basically, we use Sitecore technology. And I have 10 plus, 14 plus years in experience in QA test automation and manual testing. So I am a guy who actually does R&D on multiple automation tools, APIs, automation APIs in different platforms, and also in which uses multiple programming languages. So I have a Git repo, which is about over 200. So because every day I try to try and test and experiment. So automation is about experimenting new things. We cannot just rely or in a particular niche area. So we have to do continuous learning and experimenting stuff. So all my experimenting integrations, everything is there. And I have done almost over 340 articles on test automation different tools in different languages, about integrations, everything. I'm a creator of the Selenium Test Automation API, which is based on which uses Selenium as a wrapper and which is based in Java. So that's about myself. So Srija, are the participants going to ask questions, or just I have just go ahead with it?
Okay, so we have kept the Q&A session at the end of the
Okay.
workshop. And if you have any question, like you can raise your questions in the Q&A uh, option, which you can find at the bottom of the Zoom panel. And
Okay.
so all your questions will be addressed at the end of the session.
Okay.
And
Sure.
also you can use your chat box for the conversation. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Okay. So we should know what is test automation. So like before 10 years, test automation was not a very big thing, but since it's evolved, like with different tools and different languages and different APIs, test automation has given a lot of benefits to the industry, the projects that we do, software development projects. And everyone nowadays, the clients even ask for test automation because they want to minimize the time on testing and deliver the product soon to the market. So what we do in test automation is that we try to automate the repeatable test cases, and we try to cut down the time that we have spent on regression and smoke test. So what we do in test automation, we use the automation tool. Basically, robot framework is kind of a tool, but when we take Selenium, it's an API, application programming interface. What I mean, API is not a web service here, but it's a kind of a library which set of developers have built on particular language, which actually addresses the automation purpose. And there are so much variety of horizons that automation address. Basically mobile automation, web services automation, Windows automation, and web UI automation. Okay, so there are a lot of advantages. That's why we all are now forced to have the skill as QA professionals, because number one, it tries to reduce the amount of time that we spend on automation, and number two, it tries to reduce the cost. Okay, earlier days when we do manual testing, regression testing, we had to stay late, and we had to stay late, and the company has to spend. It goes from the testing budget, from the project budget itself. So so now with the test automation, we try to minimize that cost, and also we try to deliver the product to the customer soon. Those customers are very demanding. They give us a deadline, and we have to deliver it to that deadline. We have to make the customers happy in order for the continuation of the project. So then, so those are the kind of advantages that we have, and it tries to minimize the errors that performed by a manual tester, because this is a kind of a laid down flow in an automation script. We just give the code, hey, you have to go in this way, and then check the result and see whether it's the expected. So those are the advantages, but there are limitations in automation. Number one, we cannot put automation into each and every project, because sometimes 3 months, 2 months projects are there. Even in my organization, we have short duration projects, and we do not try to invest on those kind of projects on in test automation. We are not going to invest test automation into that, because once test automation is a whole big process. We had to train the people on a particular tool and on a scripting language. Then we had to actually clean up the regression suite, because it will have old test cases and outdated ones, and also we need to modify the test cases. Then we have to find a tool according to the customer's requirements and the application that we're going to automate. Then we have to come up with a automation framework. So once we do those things and automate the test cases, the project will be over. So we don't get an ROI. And the other thing is, some automation tools, there are limitations when we are trying to automate a particular platform. It's like batch processes we cannot automate, and also we cannot automate certain green screens applications. Sometimes certain UI elements we cannot automate. Say we are going to say the client has a test case to validate that the automation script should validate the YouTube movie is playing. So we cannot do such kind of things. So then these are the limitations in test automation. So Selenium is the VSKI tool that we use in the test automation arena in the industry. It's open source free one. So developed by Jason Huggins originally, and now it has evolved into WebDriver, and a lot of us use it, and we have a lot of support, lot of sites about the tool, about the technical problems and how to solve it, especially as Stack Overflow. So it's a web UI automation tool, and it supports multiple browsers. Basically, it supports Safari, Firefox, Chrome, Opera, and even Edge. So multiple languages, it's implemented across multiple languages. So it's implemented in Java, .NET, Python, Ruby, and JavaScript, and also PHP, and supports multiple OSs like Mac OS X, Windows, Sun Solaris, and also in Linux flavors. So that's about Selenium. So it's a very handy, automation tool that everyone should know. So what is about robot framework? Robot framework, now Selenium is a kind of an API, automation API. So what does robot framework do? So what happens in robot framework is it's a keyword driven framework, which helps everyone who are into the beginner level of test automation to handle this tool very easily. It's developed in Python, on top of Python, and also you can create libraries because robot framework has a lot of library support, and you can just it's not just Selenium web UI automation. You have libraries for mobile automation, Windows automation, and web services automation. And also there are other libraries to do non-GUI operations like calling shell scripts. So a lot of things can be done in robot framework. A lot of flexibility is there, and you can extend it by adding more libraries, creating with Java, Python, that is called Jython, and also in Python based also. But it lacks support for if else, nested loops, and when code gets complex, it's very much complex. But every tool has its pros and cons. So robot framework has helped most of the people, but it's used not that much. There is a big user base, but it is a quite advanced, and you can do a lot of things with robot framework. So that's about robot framework. There are a lot of features. So we can create test cases in a tabular format. So I will show you all. We can create our own custom keywords, which will incorporate the commands which we are utilizing in a library. So there are libraries we can integrate easily. So as I told you all, on Windows automation, web services automation, FPM, mobile automation. So all these libraries, and we can use like interchanging these libraries also. Say for example, we have a web UI automation scenario, we have to validate the OTP. So we can actually get the OTP from the mobile phone. So that we have to use APM, and for the inserting of the OTP, we have to use the Selenium. So we can use both libraries in one test case. So that's the flexibility it supports. So there are a lot of resources that we can create. That is like we can create a resource file which has the commands, and call those resource files inside our test case, which promotes reusability like a page object model. So test cases can do data driven, and also there is inbuilt reporting and login facility, which will help us to know why it has failed, and also write, which is the GUI tool for test automation with robot framework. So these are the features of robot framework. Now I will go through how to install a robot framework. So robot framework, actually there is a small issue when it comes to robot framework. this WX Python supports 2. Python version 2. So we had to install Python 2.7.15 version, which is stable. But there's nothing difference between Python using robot frame in Python 2 and 3. So we use Python 2.7.15, and then after that, installing Python, you have to set the environment variable for the Python actual path of the Python that you have installed in your machine. So you have to set the path. So once you set the path in the command prompt, if you write Python dash dash version, you will get the version of the Python that you have installed to verify that it's working fine. Then you have to have, in this particular version, we have pip automatically available, so we can have when we install Python, it will install pip in the environment variables. So we can check whether the pip is installed fine, because we use pip is Python installation packages, similar to the Java dependencies in Java when you use Selenium there. So it will actually help us to download the package and integrate it to our particular solution that we do on Python. So so that is how we validate whether the Python pip installation, Python installation packages are installed. Then what we do is we install the robot framework through command prompt. We have to type pip install robot framework so that it will automatically start in getting installed in your machine. Okay, so in order to do the write, we need to, it is dependent on WX Python. This is a Windows-based Python. So we have to download the Python, WX Python from this location, and there is a Windows installation, standard Windows installation that we have to install. So then next step is we install pip. We do a command, go to the command, and we do a pip install robot framework dash write. This is the command that we have to type, and it will install write. So once we have done this, it will install globally. So you can open up another command prompt and start start write with the command write.py. Okay, so pip install. Then we had to next thing is that we had to do is we had to actually go and install Selenium, because you're going to use robot framework with Selenium. So the last step that we had to do is to install the robot framework with the Selenium. You have to utilize the Selenium library. So we had to install the robot framework Selenium library. So we had to type pip install upgrade robot framework Selenium library. So these are the installation steps that we had to perform. Srija, so I am done with the PowerPoint. Now I want to go to the practical side of it.
Yeah, sure. We can proceed, Kushan. Yeah, like guys, like if you have a question regarding the theory part, you can put your questions in the Q&A section. So that will be addressed at the last. Kushan, you can move forward to the practical session.
Okay. Right. So first thing that we had to do is I had to give him my command prompt. Now I have followed these steps, and now what we have to do is we have to start up write. So we do like this, write.py type, and it will bring up the robot framework IDE. Okay, so so this is the IDE. Actually, this is very flexible for us. We can create a new test case. We can create a new project, and we can give a name for the project. Say, for example, my test, and it will open up a new project. Okay, so what I'm going to open up done is I have already done a scenario. But before we go through the automation, my first suggestion is to we have to be familiar with the Selenium library keywords that is available for us. So every time we do a tool, even Selenium, even Cypress, or any other tool, it's very for everyone, it's recommended to go through the API, which gives the commands that are available. So we have to be familiarized know at least like kind of 30 to 40% of these commands, the most common ones, in order to start test automation. So my advice is to keep this page open in your browser so that it's very easy. If you don't know, you can just click on it and you can know how to implement it, how to call the keyword and everything. Examples, everything is documented here. So you have to use the API to go through the commands. So what we have done is I have created a project and I have added test cases. So what I have done is I have taken a simple scenario for everyone to go through. Basically, I'm using the Guru login. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do a login scenario, right? So I will show you a basic script, how to do the login. And also another way is to create our own keywords and call the Selenium API commands within that keywords, and create our own customized keywords and put it in a test. That also I will show, and I will show you all how to create a resource file and integrate that resource file to the test suite, right? So these are the things that I will touch here, but this is a great tool. So what I normally suggest people is to go through these tools and get familiarize yourself. So that's what I do. Otherwise I won't be able to teach you all on this particular tool. So we should not always rely on what is our organization is practicing, because we don't know what kind of job that we get next and what we will be paid for high. So we had to know the tool set, the stack, in order to be a good automation person. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the username and password and do the login scenario here. So first of all, I had to have the Selenium library. So you can specify the library. You have to specify the library. Otherwise, it won't understand the keywords that we are using in this API. This particular API, it won't understand it. So we have to integrate the library into our project. This is the very topmost level. What we do is we have this button called library. So we give the name Selenium Library, and you can give aliases, but no need of arguments, and click OK, and it will actually get inserted here. So once you are done, then our next step is to create the test case. So this is where you click on the project and you select new test case and you give a name, and it will get inserted as a test case. So this icon shows that's a test case. So this is a kind of a suite, right? So you can actually click on select the test cases that you want to run, and it will run. Okay. So next thing is, now when we do automation, another thing is you had to actually install the Chrome driver. Okay, so if you are doing automation in Chrome, then we have to install the Chrome driver. We have to simply go to the Google Chrome driver site. So you can say download. So Google Chrome driver download. So we have to go here, and according to your browser version, it may be 91 or 92 or 93. You have to go to that link and download the Chrome driver. If it's Windows, you have to download the Win32. Download the zip package, unzip it to a folder. My recommendation is to do it for the C drive, since it's easy. Then you have to go to the environment variables and set the path of the Chrome driver. Okay, so you have to go to the path. Sorry. So you have to say, now mine is C driver. So that is where the path my Chrome driver is. So then Actually, otherwise it won't start the browser. So you have to have that COM driver specified. So then after that, to open a browser, so we have to open the browser with the URL. So this is the keyword to open the browser. So I simply, when you are automating with robot framework, you had to refer here. So what we do is, to open the browser, we use open browser. Okay. So this is the documentation for the open browser. So it shows us how we have to call the particular browser. Okay, we can call headless also, headless Chrome and headless Firefox. It supports that. So all the browsers we can. So this is the browser name parameter, and it will tell us to, we have to open with URL and then the browser name. Okay, so this particular, you can when if you want to open the browser, you can actually go through this documentation. But as simple way, you give the open browser keyword and you give the URL and give the specify the browser. Then what we do next is, we want to input the username and password here. Okay, so as a normal automation engineer, we should know the locators, right? So it uses the standard Selenium locators, that is by ID, by name, by XPath, by CSS, by tag name, okay, link text, partial link text, all these things. So what we have to do is, we have to inspect and we have to see the easiest way to locate this particular element. So my advice is to, if we have UID or I mean the name or the ID of that particular element inside that elements tag as an attribute, take that particular name or ID rather than creating the XPath. If there is nothing as such as name or ID, we create the XPath. Or if it's a link, we identify it by link text. So this is how we do find the locating the actually the locating the particular element that we are going to interact with. So then what we do is, we have said name. So I'm going to identify by name, and I have put the colon, then the name of the, the value under the name attribute. Same way, now I have, then after that, I have to give the say the characters that I have to type for the user ID. So then after that, input text, I have to type the password. So again, what I have done is, I have gone here and inspected, okay, name equals password. So then name password, name colon password, then I have done, the password I have given. Okay, then click button. So I have to click the button here. So once I type the username and password, click the login button. So what I've done is, I have gone and inspected this name equals btn login. So I have put click button name. I have located the button, and what I have done is, nothing we should give here as a parameter. So it's just clicking the button. Then finally, once I enter this username and password, it will actually log in. So once now in my scenario, I have to know whether I'm doing a valid login scenario, then I have to know whether I have successfully logged in. So what I've done is, I have just gone to this particular element. If it's displayed, that means I have logged in successfully. Then what I've done is, I have captured this particular element, but unfortunately we don't have name or ID. So I had opted for the XPath. So what I've done is, I have gone to the top level, the immediate parent, and I have captured by the class. Okay, so I have put the relative XPath. Do not put the absolute XPath. It's very lengthy, and if there is a sudden change in intermediate elements, your XPath is gone and your script will fail. So try to get the relative XPath. So what I've done is, I have captured this parent element, immediate parent element. From there, I have proceeded here. So what I've done is, so here XPath, that's how I do. If it's ID, it's ID colon. So XPath, my XPath is TD attribute at shows attribute. So my attribute is class equals heading 3 and /TD. So tr attribute of this class. So attribute is not by at, then heading 3, then the child elements td. Okay, so I'll check element should have this particular text. Okay, so I had to drag here. So I'm using the keywords element should contain, this element should contain this text. Then finally, when I'm closing the browser, I have to say close browser. So if I want to run this, I just select this here and I click on run test. So it starts executing and you can see that it's getting executed, then it's validated. So this is the how you execute a test case, very basic level, and you can get the output in XML, log HTML. So we can go to this particular place and we can open it up. So it is a kind of log file. We can even customizingly, we can log statements. You have to go to the log library in the robot framework site, and you can actually say how we can put customized log entry. So it does the login. So this is the login report, and there is also a HTML report generated. So all these things are built up. Yeah, so these are actually this is the, so it goes to the detailed log report. So it gives all the statistics, what is passed, time elapsed, everything. So this is the report. So this is how we create a basic scenario using Selenium in robot framework. So second one is that we can build our own customized we can call our own customized keywords. So this is one example that I have showed. So what we can do in robot framework, so it has a text mode and an edit mode. So edit mode is like tabular form, it's very easy, but we can do it in text form. But do remember, we had to give tab spacing here. So every time we give the key, we had to give a tab spacing here, then we had to give the keyword, then we had to give the tab spacing and the relevant parameters. That is according to the documentation. So in my login to scenario, what I have done is this uses the standard keywords in the Selenium library. But say I want to create my own custom keywords incorporating one or two standard Selenium keywords, right? So what I've done then, this one is now here I'm using two Selenium based keywords, right? So I have also another thing is I have created variables. So this is how we created a dollar login URL, and we give the tab spacings, and then we do it. Don't give a space from the space bar, then it won't work. We give tab space, one or two or three tab spaces. Then we have the browser. So the browser is also specified here. So what I have done here is, this is somewhat hard coded, but here we try to give it through variables. Then what we have here is we have created in this login to our own custom keywords, right, which incorporates 2 or 3 or 4 keywords. So we can create a entire set in say login to Guru 99, and we can put all these words, all these keywords, Selenium standard keywords, and create one keyword and run it. So this will reduce the complexity and the number of the depth of your particular robot framework test cases. So what we do here is we create open browser to login page. So that is this keyword that I have done. So it incorporates 2. Then we have input username. So this is my custom keyword. So input username, and I had to pass the username here. So we have to say arguments, and what are the arguments that we are going to pass in this one. So if we have more than one argument, we can put that also, and we have to pass according to those arguments. So input text UID username I'm passing here. So when I'm calling this in my test here, input username, I'm passing the username value, right? Same way, input password, then submit credentials. So submit credentials, then validate user, right? So validate user, then the tier down, I'm calling the close browser. right? So you can have your tags also here, so that according to the tags you can actually filter out the test, and also filter out the test that has been executed in the particular report. So this is how we create custom keywords in robot framework. Then if we run this, it will execute again. There we go. So we can go to the report also. Here we are. So we have gone here. So this is the tags that I have told you. So we can put tags to our test, and we can filter out the results according to these tags. So if we click on this, it will go to the particular what we call the log report. So it's a kind of a detailed report. So we can go to this, and we can create custom logs in robot framework, custom log events. So then that is about that. So the next one is you can have separate resource files, even variable files, and incorporate into your test, right? So this can be done by actually creating a separate test. So what I will do is I'll call notepad. You can do script it by notepad also, right? So this is my separate resource file. So I have said login1.robot, right? So what I've done here is I can create my own variables. I can create my, it's not mandatory to have the variables, but I can create my own variables here. I can create my own custom commands, custom keywords, and add the Selenium specific keywords, right? So then after adding this, it's the same traditional robot framework test. So we can have like a page object model. That means we can put the elements here, okay, and also we can have variables. Okay, we can assign variables and have variables and put the elements as dollar username, dollar password, dollar like that, and we can have the paths, XPath or by ID or by UID here, and what we are going to manipulate the commands, we can write it here. So it's kind of a page object way to do it, which is in traditional Selenium. So then if you want, if for certain reason, if the UI has been changed for a particular element, say the the ID has changed, then the tester has to go and change here only, so that it will reflect the resource file imported by other testers. So we import the resource files and we run. So then it will reflect, the change will reflect across the set of test cases that we are using. Then the next thing that we have to do is once we have done this, what we have to do is we have to incorporate this into our test suite, the project. So we go to edit, and in the resource area, we had to specify the resource library, this one, login1.robot. We had to specify that and import it. So once imported, we can actually use that in our test. So we had to refer the particular command with the name of the resource file, the name of it, not the robot extension, but login1.input name, login1.input password. Like that, we had to use it. Then if we run this, maybe I had to import the login file. Hold on. Okay. Okay, once now it's imported, it gets highlighted in blue. So what we do is we run this and it will call, save it. So once we run this, it will execute there. It uses the methods that the keywords that we have written in the resource file. So I have not created for this login and all these things we are not called, but this is how we create from a resource file. So this is about robot framework. You guys can actually, if you want to learn, this is a very powerful keyword driven, framework. And if you go to robotframework.org, you can learn a lot. And the most nice part is the libraries. So you can see there's a APM library. Then we have request, I think, where we can send web services. We can do web service auto IT library. And we have FTP library to connect to FTP resources. And Faker, this is to generate random data, name, email addresses of people and all these things. Then we have Sikuli. If we have certain window space elements, we can use that. And also it has the white library, which is also window space automation library, which is used in .NET. So they have used that also here. SSH to connect to remote resources like remote machines. This is the Selenium library. Then we have Selenium screenshots library, a separate one. Okay. Then we also have HTTP request library. This is to send web services or to do web services automation. So there is a lot of things that you guys can actually do automation with this. So once I was in one organization, I didn't have comfort of using Selenium library with robot framework. So I told Srija also that was the very first time I actually had the actually went deep dive into this tool, and we had to actually automate a non-UI application where we had to actually execute a backend shell scripts through robot framework. So it was a very powerful tool, and we did it. So it was a very large project, but robot framework is used, and it's very flexible for the people who are going to start automation, because we don't need any complex coding. We just simply have to write the keywords and call the appropriate parameters, but make sure that each and every library that you use, you go through the API. So that's it from my side, Srija.
Yeah, that's great, Kushan. And thank you so much for the detailed explanation of the demo. And I believe like we have a couple of questions in the question tab.
Okay.
So this is a question from anonymous attendee, and he has asked, other than HTML and XML, do we get any other output sheet like CSV, XML, etc., and robot framework?
No, but the thing is, we can create a custom library which will do the conversion part. Actually take the XML. That's why they provide an XML, which will actually we can. Now when we take, for example, I have developed a Maven API to actually generate test ng PDF reports. So what I've done is, I have in my programming code, I have taken the test ng XML file, went through it, taken the read through the tags, and converted it to a PDF, where I have used another PDF generator to take that text and generate PDFs, and also to generate the graphs also. So we can, so why they give us the XML is to create our own library, because one guy, he's one of my friends, called Adiral Shiba. He has done certain reporting like live logs and another detailed report. If I have it, I will share it with in my LinkedIn. Actually there he has done another detailed report where you have the pie charts and everything. It's plugged into robot frame, but what he has done is, he has taken the CSV file and he has been created a Python code, or Jython, that is Java code, which will actually take that particular XML file and convert to a his own report format. And if there is a enthusiastic guy, he can actually convert this, create an own library and do it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kushan.
And nice, another one, Alvin. He has asked, can robot framework combine with Jenkins for scheduling? Well, actually, we can execute robot framework in Jenkins. It's simply if we create a kind of a basic shell programming that is like run as a batch file. Robot framework test can be run in command prompt also. We don't have to use ride, because ride is for the people, it's very convenient since it's a GUI to do the automation. But we can have these separate robot files, and we can so what we add in the ride will be created here in the text edit. So once we have this .robot file, we can actually go to the command prompt and execute in the command base. So then we can call that command prompt in Jenkins. That's how we do the integration.
That's great. And also we have a couple of questions.
Mhm.
One is robot framework can useful for who has less coding knowledge or little knowledge?
Yes. So with the standard libraries, we can do automation. When it comes to Selenium, we can actually use the standard keywords, and we can do automation, and we can practice the reporting is there. What is core on the automation framework is the reporting and the reusability. So we can use the reusability for this resource file concept that I have taught you all. So then we can actually, for a person who's starting, yes. But my advice is to explore not only Selenium, but to explore even APM. I have explored APM because I did APM in Java. Then I tried to do APM and it worked fine. So we have to explore the libraries, right? So first level is the person to start with Selenium, then go to APM, then use the white and do some calculator automation, and to get familiarized this thing, because in my project, real-time project, I had to use multiple libraries. So in that the frame, we used resource libraries, we used the reporting, and we had to interchange the keywords. In one test case also, we had to use interchangeably the keywords in multiple libraries. So that is what is there. And if we want to create a new library, we have to write a Python code, and we can create a library file and integrate it with the robot framework. That's how we do it. But the key starting point, we just start with, you guys can start with Selenium. Since it's free, you can do it today itself, and then move in from Selenium to APM and web services automation and all these things. That's it. Any other question?
That's it, Kushan. So, guys, like we have a few more minutes, and if you have questions, please do write in the Q&A tab. And or else, like, you can reach out to Kushan on LinkedIn, and he's always active in LinkedIn, and he's sharing a lot of knowledge with related to automation. And also, we are looking forward to your ebook on Cypress, Kushan. And
Definitely.
Okay, so let's sign off the session now and catch you all in the second part of QS Studio workshop for the Global Testers Day. And please do attend all our contests and try to win the test championship. And the next session is happening on September 2nd. That's a live session with Valmir Filho. The session is going to be on writing Cypress test without Cucumber. And it's happening on September 2nd at 10 a.m. EST. And till then, signing off. Thank you, Kushan, and thank you everyone for the time. Yeah.
Thanks for participating. Yeah.
Thank you.